I want to continue where we left off at, and for this video, I really want to talk to you guys about people who should not work in Japan. So, as I've said in some of my previous videos, Japanese work life is totally different from American work life. And not just so much that it's different, but a lot of what you read and what you hear about work life in Japan has absolutely nothing to do with you. So as a foreigner, you would not be treated the same way as a Japanese employee, but just because you're not treated the same way doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to see it as better. So I will explain that in this video exactly what I mean by that. So first things first, a lot of the things that you see online with memes talking about how you can sleep at work and how they have cats at their job and jingles that they have that tell you to go home, none of this stuff applies to you. You're not going to be some drunk, strung out salary man who stays super late at work. That does not happen to foreigners. This isn't even true for every salaryman per se. So you see on TV, you've seen documentaries, articles, things on YouTube, etc. showing salarymen have these super crazy work hours. And it's not that your hours won't be crazy per se, but the average teacher here in Japan only works somewhere between 25 to no more than 40 hours. It's possible to do overtime, and of course if you're like a good teacher, you should be doing overtime at home because you should be planning and for lessons and studying, etc. But yeah, you're not gonna have any type of crazy work life like that. However, in Japan, there's no such thing as work-life balance. Your job is going to expect for you to give your all and invest all of your time and even some of your money at times into your work. And this is going to drive you crazy as someone who is not Japanese. This is not something that you commonly see talked about. So if you don't already know, your job comes first in Japan. It comes before your family and friends. So I talked about in my previous video how teachers get upset because they're like, oh, I have to show up to work 20 minutes early and I don't get paid for this. And it's like, yeah, that's just the gist of it. Another thing that makes people upset too is that your job will expect for you to help out. So if a teacher quits, they'll expect you to take over their shift. They'll expect you to, willingly go to events and holidays and to help and stay behind, etc. They want you to be, active. They want you to take initiative. They do not want to have to ask you. So by them having to ask you to do these things, you actually look like a bad person and a bad employee. And if you're walking into your job with the attitude like, well, then let them think whatever they want, you are a problematic person that should not be here. Yes, I feel your pain. I understand where you're coming from. I'm an American. This is new and different for me too, but this is a part of Japanese culture. No, it's not just them abusing foreigners. This is how Japanese people work too. My boyfriend, for example, 100% Japanese. His job has crazy requests like this for him too. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to necessarily advise that you make your job come first in your life. I personally can never do that. But I will say you have to view things from their perspective. You have to see things from a Japanese lens. People come over to Japan to work and they want everything to be identical to America. They want, Japan to pay for your ticket. They want them to pay for their housing. They want to have all the free time in the world to go traveling and have fun and have their weekends off. They want everything to be a vacation, funland. They don't want to give up anything that they're used to in their home country, but they also want to enjoy Japanese culture. And so it's like, have you done zero research on Japan before you came here? And I get it, it's one thing to read, it's another thing to experience. And that's why I always tell you guys, do not take my word for it. I know nothing. You have to experience Japan for yourself. I can help you, I can advise you, I can tell you what I think and what I've learned, but you have to see it for yourself. You have to work for yourself and make your own decisions. I can agree that I do feel underpaid, especially as someone who went to school and studied education, and someone that even before I even went to college, I always was naturally good at teaching. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I'm saying that for these reasons, I do feel underpaid. I do agree that sometimes it seems like you're doing a lot of work, but in actuality, I find it quite hilarious that the people that seem to complain and have so much bad to say about Japan, they're oftentimes not qualified to teach, or if they do have, relevant degrees, they're not good at teaching. And again, it goes beyond just being good at teaching. You have to understand Japanese culture. If you do not understand how they learn, how they go to school, you don't understand work life here for a Japanese person. Oh, of course, it's going to be hell for you. You're going to be like, what? Why would they expect me to do these things? It's going to feel like you're working a retail job. If you've ever worked a retail job in America, you know how that is. They don't care about how you want to go home for the holidays or be at home with your family for Thanksgiving. They want their money. The best two examples I can give you is going back into a story time that I did. Okay, I had a job working at a restaurant, which I'm no longer at. I was fired. But with that said and done, most of the customers that went to this place were Americans. And with that said and done, a lot of the American, people there, they probably felt like I or anyone else was rude, or you probably think that as an American tourist yourself, because Japanese staff, they will not come up to your table 50 times. Do you need a napkin? Do you want a refill? How was your drink? How was your food? Can I get your check for you? They don't do that type of stuff. You want something in Japan, you have to call for the waiter or waitress yourself. They will seldomly come to your tables, very rare, and normally when they do, it's because you've been there for a long time and they're going to refill your water, etc. Normally, you will have to ask for them to do these types of things. As an American, I would think I had bad service, and now I would give you the minimum tip. I'm not going to do anything special because you seem to have been, in a bad mood, a bad employee. The same thing goes for being in crowded places. So where I'm from in America, if you were to go to Chicago and you're running late for your train and you just, rush into everyone and bump into them, don't say sorry, act like nothing ever happened, you're either going to get shot or you're about to get your ass beat. That could never happen where I'm from. But in Japan, you have to look at things through a Japanese lens. To a Japanese person, oh, that person's busy, they're in a rush, okay, I understand. And as for restaurant service, you have to understand that in Japan, your waiter is not going to stalk your table. You have to understand that they will come to you when you need them, which some people would actually prefer this, might I add. So with that, considered, you have to view working here the same way. How is work done here? So to get back on topic for you guys, if you're going to work in Japan and you are going to refuse to assimilate, you're not going to study Japanese culture, you're not going to be okay with work life here, then don't work in Japan, because you are going to hate your job, you're going to leave a bad review, you're going to quit, you're going to give teachers a bad name. That's why our wages are so low here, FYI. They do not want to pay people a lot of money when they're just going to quit anyway. I probably wouldn't pay a lot of money for that reason. Just as you are using these jobs just to get your foot in the door, they figure, hey, might as well do the same thing. So I find it funny that people are okay with using these companies as a, gateway to get to Japan, but in the same sense, you don't want companies to pay you as though you're just using them. You get what I'm saying? So it's that kind of thing. So it works out both ways if you think about it. You don't have to love your job necessarily. As I said, your goal is just to get your foot in the door, but companies here, they're going to run like a Japanese company in some ways. I'm gonna have to step on you guys' toes for a second, and I'm included in this, but I find it really interesting that it seems like Americans, Brits, and Aussies seem to complain the most about this type of stuff. And it's like, you guys are lazy. It's the truth. You're lazy. I'm lazy. You are used to being in a country that caters towards you. You want to have holiday, fun time, and you cannot understand the Japanese mindset. Now, don't get me wrong, all Japanese people are not hard workers, but even the ones who do not work hard, even companies that don't require you to work hard, you generally put in a lot more effort and a lot more work, and you give up a whole lot more of your free time than you would be used to if you are from the United Kingdom or if you are from America. Canadians as well, I'm including in America, FYI. So this is hard for you guys to swallow. It's a hard pill to swallow. And if you cannot understand that, then again, you're not going to like it here, and you are a part of the problem. You knew what you were getting yourself into. So in order to be okay with working here, you have to understand that your company comes first. It comes before your family, it comes before your friends, before your children, before your parents, everything. Your job is first. You don't have to agree with this, but you have to understand how they are viewing these things. And if you cannot wrap your mind around this, you're not going to like it here. Secondly, understand that while you think your pay is low, despite all these stupid articles and YouTube videos that other people have, Japan is not really that freaking expensive if you're here by yourself. Now, if you have children, you're a single parent, that's a whole nother story. I have no idea how people can do it as a single mom without government assistance, which does exist here. And so does child support, but that's another story. Yeah, you can easily live off of the salary that they give you. $2,500 a month, $2,500 US dollars, $3,000 US dollars is definitely more than enough to live comfortably here. I've personally worked jobs that paid less than that, and I was doing just fine. I was able to travel, buy cosplay, etc. You can live off of that comfortably. I find that overall, people seem to not really hate how can I put it, like teaching per se, like unless they're working with younger kids. I don't normally see people complain about teaching older students, but the complaints that people seem to have deal with not understanding, one, how to be a teacher, two, timeliness, and 3, how Japanese people view their work. So like I said, if you're not someone who takes initiative, you're not someone who likes to stay behind and help out, you don't know how to realize that you need to help, you don't know like signs when there is help needed or when you should stay behind and offer to help, you are going to be out of the loop, and your coworkers are going to think that you are just the worst ever. And that's the other thing that people never talk about. If you're viewing this from the Japanese side, you might think that you're being the best employee, you're doing your job, you just want to go home. Your Japanese coworkers are thinking like, wow, foreigners are so lazy, they're such bad people, people from this country are such bad employees, etc. They think that you're horrible too. In order to really enjoy working here in Japan at any company, you are 1, as I've always said a million times, you're going to have to understand Japanese culture. 2, you're going to have to be willing to put your job first, or at least make it seem like you are. 3, you're going to have to be willing to sacrifice your time, which kind of goes back into number 2. And number 4, you are going to have to learn how to humble yourself and act Japanese. Japanese people are not, when they work, even outside of work, they're not very open about their personal thoughts and opinions, etc. I find that foreign teachers oftentimes get too emotional and they're too outspoken, and you just sound ignorant when they, want to argue with stuff, or they complain about things. They don't understand why they can't joke around, or why they can't do whatever, or why they don't have, this long break, and why are they expected to do this unpaid. You have to learn how to just shut up, shh, and do your job. Do what everyone else is doing. Be a sheep. Foreigners oftentimes act like big babies when they can't have their days off that they want. So let's say that you request a certain day off, or if you're asking for a raise, etc. This is totally like not normal for Japanese people. For starts, normally people don't even take their vacation or off days, and when they do, they don't make a big deal about it when it's not approved, and they will never leave at a time in which they know that it's going to cause extra stress for their coworkers. Americans, Canadians, Australians, British people, etc., they seem to not give a crap. They want their time off. They're like, oh yeah, so, I want to take off next week, or they'll make up an excuse. They'll call in, claim they have a headache, etc., last minute, and this really makes companies angry. Again, this is why our pay is garbage. You guys come over here, you do a poor job as a teacher, you quit easily, you get upset easily, you talk ignorantly, and you think that you're being a trailblazer and being outspoken and going to make change, but you're not. Japan is set in their ways, and they're not going to change over some foreign. Again, this is not to tell you to accept being treated poorly by an employer. Use your brain and common sense, but I am saying that you have to stop taking offense or acting like it's the end of the world because you can't get vacation, when you want to. I even say vacation days, period. It sounds so crazy, but like I said, it's actually a kind of normal thing here. Do people take vacation days? Yes. Does it happen often? Not really. Normally companies require, and they will force you, I think it's the law, to use a certain amount of days. But what people don't do is they don't call in minutes before or after they were supposed to start claiming that they have a headache. They also don't lose their crap and quit their job because they don't get vacation days when they wanted to have them. So again, if you're coming to Japan to travel and explore, maybe you should just save money for that or go to a language school. But being a teacher is definitely not for you. You're not going to enjoy it here. You're going to have to wake up, smell the coffee, and realize that that's not real life. That's not how work in Japan, because your company comes first and is so important, they normally expect for you to say yes to anything that they ask you to do. So if you are someone who says no and you're like, look, I'm just working the hours that I signed my contract for, I'm not going to stay overtime, not going to do extra, I'm not going to do whatever, you look horrible to your coworkers that are Japanese and to your employer. They're going to think, wow, this is a bad employee, and as soon as they get the chance, they're going to replace you, fire you, let you go, cut your hours, whatever they can do. And it's a stereotype. They expect you to be a crap employee because they know that stereotypically this is what foreigners do. However, you are, shocking to them because as a Japanese person, they wouldn't have to ask twice. They just go ahead and do it. So you're really like, it's confusing for them too. It's like, is this person stupid? Like, why would you say no to your boss when he's asking you to go out for ramen for his birthday? Or when they're asking you to, come in early an hour on Saturday to help prepare? This is going to be the weirdest thing that you ever hear, but in order to make work life work here, you're gonna have to be a submissive employee, if that makes any sense. So what I mean is, do what your boss asks you to do. If they, or when I say ask, I mean legitimately ask. Like, oh, can you stay, an hour later? Hey, one of our teachers, is going to leave in a couple of weeks. We don't have anyone to take their place. Can you work their shift? Do whatever. I'm not saying that you have to do this, but I am saying if you want to get brownie points, you want to get promoted, you want to stay in your employer's good graces and enjoy your work life here, you are not going to want to burn bridges and make the Japanese staff dislike you. And not being a team player, not helping out when your company is in need is a very fast and surefire way to ensure that you burn bridges and that people not like you. Yes, you have the right to say no, you don't have to do it, that's why they're asking you, but it's a Japanese thing. They're asking to be nice. They're not really asking, if you know what I mean. Don't worry though, you will still have free time. Look at me, look at my stuff. I have these figurines, I have books, I have food, I have a relationship, I have traveled, I've been lots of different places here in Japan. You most certainly can make it work during your weekends and during your vacation days that are mandatory that everyone has in Japan. So do not worry, you will be able to enjoy Japan and have fun and date, etc. You will have a social life where you have a ton of free time. Not necessarily, you also will not have a ton of money, but you will have enough money to live off of, and you won't be struggling with the pay that you have, unless you have a gigantic lavish apartment that has carpet, and you have 4 kids, and you have 2 different wives. If you have a normal life, you're here by yourself, or if your partner is also working, in fact, that's actually great, 2 incomes, you will be just fine, so do not worry. So all I'm really saying is, this is why you should not worry about reviews. As I mentioned before, most of the people who write these negative reviews do not understand work life here in Japan. And you probably don't understand work life here in Japan either, because you're not going to have cats in the office, your coworker is not going to have his waifu pillow sitting next to him in an office chair, you are not going to see, I don't know, people sleeping at their desks, cats running around, music playing to make everyone go home. You're not going to be required to go out drinking and go to girls' bars, etc. Those type of activities happen at real Japanese companies with all Japanese people, where there are salarymen and career women. This is not a teaching job. Can a foreigner work these type of jobs? Yes, but also being realistic, even as a foreigner, any Japanese company that hires foreigners does not run entirely Japanese-like, Japanese style. So, do not think this is what work life is like here. So again, just understand, working in Japan is not working in America, it's not working in Canada, you're not in the UK anymore, this is not Australia. You have to understand their culture is totally different. It's not just your bad employer. Your company can be bad too. I'm not saying that, Nova, Gap, or any company is great. I've never said that. However, I am saying that if you run away from them thinking that you're going to get better somewhere else, yes, you can get a little better, but ultimately it's going to be the same principle. You're going to be expected to give up yourself, to give up your time, to give up your money for the better good of Japan, the greater whatever, which will be your company. Helping your company, working for your company, and showing loyalty to your company is a very Japanese thing to do. And by Japanese, from their view, being loyal to your company is the same as being loyal to Japan. Helping your company is helping Japan. So again, if you don't like taking initiative, you don't want to have to stay late, you want to have a lot of vacation days, you don't like showing up to work early, you don't want to have to, stay late and be unpaid for this, because it's all a part of your salary. If you can't do that, then don't work here. You're not going to like it. And I also want to add one more thing. You are aware that that's kind of what a salary is. They're paying you a guaranteed amount of money for you to do an unguaranteed amount of work. So they might have you work 30 hours, you might work 40 the next week. You might also be requested to stay late. And I find that to be interesting. So workers won't complain if you're working less than what you're actually getting paid for. So let's say that you're being paid for 40 hours, but you really just work 20. Your salary stays the same. But then people get upset when they're asked to, work more hours for the same pay. You get what I'm saying? So I understand that, but come on, you have to be fair now, don't you? So I'm gonna end the video here. I'm just getting repetitive at this point. So basically, do your research, understand if you're gonna work in Japan, if you don't want to be that employee. Understand that you are going to have to do overtime, you are going to have to show up early, and you are going to feel underpaid. You're going to be expected to take initiative too. And if you cannot do these things, you will not be able to work in harmony with the rest of your Japanese coworkers and employees. You're going to be expected to help when your company is short-staffed. If this is not sounding something that you can do, then you probably shouldn't work here in Japan. So, the choice is ultimately yours. I have other videos that explain why people don't like working here and about, the truth about that. I think it's like maybe 20 different things. I'll link it down in the description. If you have any more questions, send me an email, leave a comment down below. Other than that, thank you for watching. I hope this answers your question, helps you out. Bye.